Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It's a new year, which means it's time to plan out finances for 2025. In this video, I'll be sharing my spending strategy, setting financial goals, and discussing how I plan to achieve them. Let's get started. We're starting off with an empty sheet for 2025. This looks similar to previous years, but I've cleared out all the cells. And we'll take the time now to fill it out and go through the spending breakdown. To start off, we'll focus on the income section. My pay for work for the month of January, I expect to be about $7,300. I don't expect any rollover or bonus to come in. This brings my total income for the month of January expected to be about $7,300. I will now need to allocate my spending for this month. We'll start off with my expected automated investments. Even though these took a pause last year, I do plan to resume these regularly this year, and this will be for $1,000. Because I get paid every other week, I will invest $500 after each paycheck. In my sinking funds, I am bringing this up compared to last year to $800 given the increased cost of insurance. For my emergency fund, I will be setting aside $1,000, and I'm going to set aside $1,000 for my loan repayment. This is for a loan I received at work that is due in August. My goal is to save the $10,000 balance that is due before August so that I have that money ready to go once the balance is due. My mortgage is $1,100. Electricity varies month to month, but for this month, I will set aside $35, gas, $30, water, $65, internet, $41, and $200 for my student loan. I took a quick glance at my sinking fund for 2024, and this should be a little bit lower, coming up to $600 only. I've zoomed out slightly so we can see all of the variable expenses. For fund money, I am setting aside $600. I'm setting aside $500 for home expenses. This includes groceries and anything for around the house. In self-care, these are the massages I get, my gym membership, etc. I'm setting aside $150. For medical, because this was a substantial expense last year, I added a new row to take this into account. Here, I'll set aside $200. And for travel, my target is to set aside $1,000. As I mentioned in the recap of 2024, I still have a fence repair that I expect to pay this year. I'll leave this blank for now, but I will come back in the end and add it. I've taken my income and subtracted all of my expenses. What you can see from this number is that it is negative, meaning that I've allocated more spending than I have income coming in. So I'll need to make some minor adjustments. Okay, you got to see quickly how I went through all of the varying categories and adjusted my spending. Now the total is at 0, which means I've allocated every dollar to be spent without going over. I'd increased my allocation in fund money and home expenses, but as you saw, I had to trim this back down. That's okay, but it's good to know ahead of time going into the month rather than being surprised by this later on. You'll also notice that in doing this, I am prioritizing some things over others. For example, my travel budget, I did not trim from. I left at $1,000 because it is a priority of mine to be able to cover these types of expenses. I also avoided taking down my automated investments, again, because this is a priority. Most months will look very similar to January, but I will edit them as we fill it out. Next, let's focus on the income section. This is the income I expect to receive every month from work. However, there are some minor tweaks that I'll need to make. I expect to get a pay raise in April. I don't know what it will be, but I'll estimate it to be 3%. You can see this increase after April for the remainder of the year. The other thing to note is that there will be several months where I will receive 3 paychecks, and this will be in the month of May, August, and October. So I'll add that to row 4, extra pay / rollover. The other impact to my income is that I will be participating in the employee stock purchase plan, which goes into effect starting in May and ends in October. This impacts my take-home pay, and because I've done this several years, I now can predict how much it will be. Let me update it now. This means starting in May, my take-home pay will come down to $5,864, and it will remain this way through October, going back to the original value for November and December. This now takes into account my salary income. I do expect to get a bonus. This will be in the month of March, and it's very hard to predict, but I'm going to put down $3,500. Also, when the employee stock purchase plan ends, I will get this money coming into my account. And again, I don't know what this is going to be, but I expect about $14,000. Now I have all of the income that I expect every month for the year 2025. We can now start to fill out the rest. Investments I expect to hold consistent throughout the year, with the exception of October, where the $14,000 will actually not come in as income in my paycheck, but rather in my investment account. For taxes and insurance, my emergency fund sinking fund, and the loan repayment, I plan to keep these consistent for the year. As I mentioned, the loan repayment is due in August, so I won't need to set money aside after this. The total balance due is $10,000, and if we add all of these up, you'll see that I'm short $2,000. But because I have an extra paycheck in May and a bonus in March, I will bump these up these months to help cover the spread and get me up to $10,000. So now you'll see between January and the month of August, I will be able to save up the $10,000 that I'll need to make the repayment. None of these will change, and we'll keep them consistent as is. The mortgage will also remain consistent for the year. My gas, water, and internet bill are more or less the same throughout the year. The electricity bill does change over time, specifically with the expense increasing over the summer. Let me take a moment to adjust here. I've updated how much I expect to spend on electricity. This is based on previous years and is only an estimate. We'll have to update it as the year progresses. Now looking at the variable expenses categories. The plan here is to keep these as consistent as possible, but it won't be doable every month, especially when my pay comes down starting in May. I'll drag these over and then we'll adjust. You'll see in the bottom row of total how much money is left over or I've overspent if I don't change anything. You'll see that some are negative, meaning that I spent more than the income I have coming in, and some will have a positive value, corresponding to money that I have not allocated yet. In February, I overspent by $5, so we'll update the home expenses category to accommodate. In March, because I have the bonus coming in, there's almost $2,500 left to spend. We'll leave this here for now and come back to it. I may need some of this extra cash to help cover me while my income is decreased for a few months. In April, I have $209 left to spend. I know that there are some concerts and fun activities that will be coming in around this time, so I'll allocate this to the fun money category. In May, because of the extra paycheck, I have $487 left to spend. I will invest an extra $200 and I will roll over, seeing that the next month is in the negative. In June, because I am strapped for cash and the amount is significant, I'm going to hold off on the sinking fund. And what I will do is in March, I will double up and save $2,000 instead of $1,000. July will be the same. I'll take off the travel sinking fund and make up for it in a later month. It looks like October is a good month to do that. Okay, so I've taken off the travel sinking fund from June and July, but I'm still over $162 in June. I will take some of the income that I had left over from March to help cover these expenses so that I don't slow down my investments in June. I'll do the same in July. Now looking at August. Because I get an extra paycheck this month, this really did help to cover my expenses. With all of that being said, I have an extra $1,407 left to spend, but looking into September, I'll need to roll this over to help me cover the September spending. Okay, after setting aside the $500 to roll over into September, I still have $907 left to spend, and I will move these into investments. So I now have $0 in August, $0 left in September. In October, because of the extra paycheck, I have money left over. I will increase slightly my fund money expenses to $700. I'll do this for the remainder of the year. Even with this, I still have $1,252 left to spend, which I will move to the investment section. So I have $1,252.23. In November, I have an extra $1,004 and the same in December. All of the money is accounted for most of the months, but I still have a little bit in May and a little bit in March. I'll bump up my fund money category for the month of May. I will do the same for the month of March, and I'll add a little bit into the home expenses as well. After bumping these up slightly, I have $505 left, which I'll roll over into investments. This is in total how much I will roll over to help cover expenses later on in the year, in March and in August. But overall, looking at the total, they are now all at zero, and every dollar is accounted for. Although looking at this now all filled out, it can look daunting. Remember that I started off just looking at January and noting the expenses and income for this month. Then I rolled this across the screen to cover the remainder months and adjusted where needed. But you also saw that because I do prioritize travel, I did prioritize it. And when needed, I adjusted in other categories to help accommodate. Something new that I'm implementing is the flexibility to roll over money month to month to help cover expenses in future months when I know my income will be lower. In previous years, I ended up having to pull from my emergency fund to help cover some of these, but looking ahead and being able to predict how much income is coming in is allowing me to better control the cash flow throughout the months. I'm excited to put this plan into action and see where it takes me. Remember, consistency is key. Let's make 2025 a year of financial growth and achievement. What are your financial goals for 2025? Share your thoughts and plans in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more financial tips and motivation. Thanks for watching until the end, and I'll see you in the next one.